Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So for today, I'm gonna be explaining Form 4 BAB 9, which is Pembetulan Kesilapan with you guys. So what is the reason that I'm covering this Form 4 chapter, which is the last one in your textbook, Form 4 textbook, the last chapter, alright? So it's because a lot of students are requesting it, reason because they couldn't understand it. They feel that it's so difficult. Now let me tell you, I realized that the problem is not with the chapter. The problem is with your basic. The reason why you can't do this chapter properly is because you are weak in Sistem Catatan Bergu. So why do I say so? Because in this chapter, the one that will usually come out in paper 2 is our kesilapan tidak ketara, where kesilapan ketara and tidak ketara, what are their differences? Kesilapan ketara is one-sided mistake. They are obvious ones, where maybe my debit side is already correct, but my credit side have some mistake. So that causes my imbangan duga to not able to balance, not imbang. So that's why they are one-sided type, which is very simple to change. We don't need to have a whole journal arm to do the correction. But for kesilapan tidak ketara, different case. You gotta analyze from the sentences that they give you and help them find out at least minimum dua butir, which is what is butir? A lot of students may be wondering. So butir are what we call as asset, liability, EP and stuff like that, but not just the category itself. We're talking about the item. Asset got what type of items? We have 7 types of ABS, 6 types of asset semasa. Example, bank, tunai, perabot kenderaan, inventory, all these are considered as our butir. So we have to find out dua butir daripada soalan tersebut. Then what you do next? Help them analyze who to sit on the debit and who to sit on the credit when you are doing your journal arm. So that's the problem, because you know the butir, but you don't know their classifikasi. Now this is the very serious issue, because if you don't know their classifikasi, it's impossible for you to tell whether they should be on the debit or they should be on the credit side. That's why in this video itself, I'm going to go through with Sistem Catatan Bergu firstly. Then I will tell you guys the steps to analyze, do your Pembetulan Kesilapan in the correct manner. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to the next screen where I'm going to teach you guys Sistem Catatan Bergu, what is the jenis kesilapan tidak ketara, and as well as contoh soalan. Okay guys, so now in my screen here, I'm showing you guys the Sistem Catatan Bergu. So what exactly is Sistem Catatan Bergu? You guys must understand that we have 5 different classifikasi, which is called as asset, belanja, hasil, EP dengan liability, that is shown here in their own short forms. Okay, so all these short forms are very useful when you go to exam, because you have no time to go and write them out in full. When you just need to know their positioning will do. So Sistem Catatan Bergu is a basic where we learn since Form 4 BAB 4. Form 4 BAB 4. So in Form 4 BAB 4, we actually learn about journal. We have journal arm, journal khas, we have buku tunai and buku tunai rencit. So from there, we will start using this term such as debit and credit already. So what exactly is the meaning of debit dengan credit? I'll tell you guys, there's actually not much about it. Debit means left side. Credit means right hand side. So this positioning is for you to know who sits on the left and who sits on the right, but we don't call it left right anymore in account syllabus. We call it as debit and credit side. Okay, so don't you see that they are sitting on their own positions already? A and B will always be on the debit, while H, EP and L will always be on the credit side. So I think the easier way for you to remember the positioning is how you count your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How do you write them usually in sequence? You go from the left side towards the right hand side. So isn't it the same case when it comes to alphabets? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is what you sing during kindergarten, right? Okay, so we go according to that. A, B, and then the rest of the alphabets will sit on where? Will sit on the right hand side. So this is how you should remember. Asset and belanja will always be on the debit, while the rest of the alphabets credit side. Okay, so why do I need to know the debit and the credit? So the usage of them is to tell you where their positive side is. So you see, how come both sides also positive? Because each side has its own classifikasi. If you put asset and belanja on the debit side, then it's their positive. But what if you want to minus them? then of course you have no other choices already. You only have two positioning where if you want a plus, you put on the debit side. If you want the minus, then you're gonna put them onto the credit side. This is how it works. Okay, so let's try again. What about for hasil EP dengan liability? Same case. If their original position is on the credit side, if you want to add them, of course you put back on the credit side. But if you want to minus them, then it will go reverse into the debit side. Minus hasil, put on debit, minus EP, debit as well, and minus liability also on the debit side. So this is how your Sistem Catatan Bergu works. This is the first thing, okay? The plus and the minus. Now, is there such rule that I must always have one thing to plus and one thing to minus, and the klasifikasi must always be different? No. What must be different? This, what we call as butir. Okay, so what is the meaning of butir? Let me give you an example so that you can relate to it. So let's say a very normal type of urus niaga. Let's talk about membeli perabot dengan bank. Okay, so I'm going to make it fast and write the short form so you guys can relate. Okay, so membeli perabot dengan bank. From this sentence itself, we will find out dua butir. So what are the butir? The butir are perabot and also bank. So lucky enough for this kind of sentence, you don't have to change the butir because sometimes perabot can also be written as major, kerusi, or rak. Okay, so all these then you have to automatically change it into the word perabot. But this sentence doesn't require you to change. You just need to acknowledge it. So after you have found the butir, what is the next step to do? Next step is to find out what is their klasifikasi. So perabot is our asset bukan semasa. Bank is our asset semasa. So you see, isn't it both also asset? Is there a problem? No, no problem at all. Just as long as their names are not the same. So what does it mean? I cannot have two banks to do catatan bergu with each other because bank only have one term. So I cannot use back the same name to do one debit and one credit side. Okay, so next step, number 3. Because the first step is finding butir. Second step is finding klasifikasi. Then the third is we start to analyze whether to plus or minus them already. So you think about it. When I buy perabot, of course perabot akan bertambah. Meanwhile, my bank, which is our money, will get lesser, minus asset semasa. So when this happens, what are you supposed to do? Make sure you understand that this is your T-shape. We have assets original side being on the debit. So debit is positive for asset, while credit side is gonna be a negative for your asset. So how do you apply them? Do you see that ABS plus? So perabot is going to the debit side. Perabot, debit. Then what about bank? Bank is going to be on the credit. So by this, then you're going to do a catatan bergu, record them into a book where you're going to put perabot on the debit, bank on the credit side. So this is how your Sistem Catatan Bergu is supposed to work. Alright, so I'm gonna start explaining on our Pembetulan Kesilapan now, which is the kesilapan tidak ketara. The reason why I'm only explaining kesilapan tidak ketara is because from my intro earlier, I told you guys that if paper 1 and paper 2 were to come out, they will only come out with kesilapan tidak ketara because it's much more harder compared to kesilapan ketara. So over here, I'm gonna be explaining 6 types of kesilapan tidak ketara. So these 6 types, I will start from the most basic one all the way until the hardest one, okay? So starting from first one, which is kesilapan ketinggalan. But hold on, okay? Before I actually go into the journeys, I want to let you guys know the format of answering your kesilapan, which is using journal arm. So in journal arm, you all know the format, right? You gotta have one item on the debit side, one item on the credit, and then proceed to do your keterangan, which is explanation. So this keterangan will serve as a way to explain, okay, what is happening now in the urus niaga itself. But then recent changes are no longer having to write the sentence itself. No need to summarize it. You just need to mention what? The name of the kesilapan, which is journeys. So instead of summarizing the sentence, no, now you gotta memorize the name well so that you can write your keterangan. So please make sure that you guys know what are the journeys kesilapan that is available. Okay, so first one, Kesilapan ketinggalan. Now, what is kesilapan ketinggalan? I'll say this one is the most easiest one, where even pelarasan chapter Form 4 Bab 8, the penyata kewangan that you do, account perdagangan dan untung rugi, sometimes their maklumat tambahan also will ask for you to do kesilapan ketinggalan, which is the reason why we're covering it right here with the most basic type of sentence. Do you see this contoh here? Jualan 5,000 kepada Aisyah belum direkod di mana-mana buku. So the way to identify it is by looking at keywords such as belum direkod or belum dicatat. So these two are synonyms, okay? So either one they come out is the same meaning. So if they didn't record, or maybe they say tertinggal catat, same thing one, then just help them record lah. So how you do your Sistem Catatan Bergu? You find out one item for the debit side, one item for the credit. So first step, butir. So the butir that we're gonna take is jualan and also Aisyah. Now, the common mistake that most students would do is to assume that this sentence is having jualan to Aisyah through tunai or check. But the thing is, no. If there were to be tunai or check involved, they will mention it. But in this sentence, did they say anything about payment method? No. Means that Aisyah, we did not receive any money from her. So what does it make Aisyah? Aisyah has now become our account belum terima, which is a form of asset semasa. So jualan is a form of hasil because we sell, we earn money. So hasil dengan asset, who to be debit, who to be credit. Let's follow our Sistem Catatan Bergu. But I'm just gonna mention about these two classification. A is on the debit side, H is on the credit. Where should we put them? Now reminder, their original side is always their positive. So if you want jualan to bertambah, why jualan bertambah? Because hasil mah, as I sell more and more, my hasil will get more and more as well. It's the same thing one. So hasil bertambah on the credit side. While Aisyah, where should I put Aisyah then? Aisyah got no other choices. Of course, it will be on the debit side so that they can balance with each other. So debit side will have a 5,000. Credit side will also have a 5,000. So this is how you settle for your kesilapan ketinggalan. So keywords are belum direkod, dicatat ataupun tertinggal catat. Okay, now next one, number 2, kesilapan prinsip. Prinsip is talking about our Sistem Catatan Bergu. A, B, H, EP dengan L. So right here, I'm going to be listing out all of them because any one of them will be possible to be involved, right? So we look at this contoh here so I can explain to you better. So ambilan 740 daripada bank untuk didermakan telah direkod sebagai ambilan. A lot of students couldn't see the problem because they would think that it's correct what ambilan bank, so what? Actually, it's not ambilan. Why? Because look at the reason. Untuk didermakan. How do you tell that it's not an ambilan when there is a purpose for it, where it's a specific purpose for the use of your perniagaan? Now, if you talk about ambilan, ambilan is for personal use, own use, keluarga. So then now, there's nothing about own use, kegunaan sendiri. No, it's for derma. So the correct term supposed to be derma, but not ambilan. That's why we're gonna pick out these two. Derma as my first butir, ambilan as my second butir. I'm gonna do a correction on this ambilan itself. So how do I know what to do about the ambilan? You think properly. This is the initial wrong. Okay, you have chosen ambilan and bank to do catatan bergu, where bank is already correct. I don't get involved with it because bank is supposed to sit on the credit side because I took it. Then what makes ambilan? Ambilan now is mistakenly put on the debit side. So how should I correct this mistake? I don't put debit anymore. I should put it to the credit side so that as a T shape, what you will see is this 740 initially being over here that is wrong. So if I want to correct it, I just put another time on the credit side, which is what we're doing right now. What will happen? In account ambilan, will this 740 still exist? no more, because it will be balanced off. So this is how we do correction in accounts. Okay, it's not like your own notebook, you can just cut off, replace. No, we gotta do a catatan bergu for them so that it can balance off and not exist in the account anymore. Okay, so this ambilan here, we have already solved its problem, which is to put on the credit side. Then what about derma? Derma, of course, sits on the debit. Reason because derma is a form of belanja. As I derma, belanja akan bertambah. A lot of you will misunderstand, thinking that belanja should decrease because I used already ma. No. Belanja means expenses. The amount of money you have spent. The more you spend, the more it increase. So belanja and hasil is the same one. They will always get more and more instead of lesser and lesser. So as a belanja to bertambah, is gonna be on the debit side. So how to tell? You see this one? Belanja is on the debit side. So positive is always on its original position. That's why we're gonna have who? We're gonna have derma to do catatan bergu dengan ambilan on the credit side. So this purple color one is the past already. I don't want it anymore. I want to do a reversed way. So we put on the opposite side, which is credit. Okay, so let's move on to kesilapan commission. This one is so simple because it's talking about a person, which is what I will say as nama orang is the characteristic. Okay, person's name. So what's happening now is it's either account belum terima is getting involved or account belum bayar. So how to tell? You look at the urus niaga, is it buying or is it selling? Now if it's buying, then of course it's gonna be account belum bayar. But if it's selling, then customer account belum terima. So belian barang niaga daripada Kelvin. Do you see it? So it's supposed to be dealing with Kelvin. I buy from him, of course Kelvin's account, which means I owe to him, will increase. So Kelvin is actually a liability semasa because I belum bayar. So as a LS, bertambah is on the credit side one. So this is what I'm gonna give it, okay? Kelvin on the credit side. But what happens is, telah direkod ke dalam account Kelly. So I accidentally put this positioning of Kelvin that is supposed to be for Kelvin, I put under Kelly. So you see, now I cannot have two credit side ma. So this one is the correct one. I don't change it anymore. But this Kelly, I gotta do a correction. So initially in its account, I already put in an amount on the credit side. So to change that error, I just need to terbalik, put another time under debit side, then the problem is solved. Because what you see here, I forgot to put an amount, so I just put a 500 here. If initially there was a 500 here, which means that I now owe to Kelly. Doesn't make sense because I didn't buy from Kelly, I bought from Kelvin. So now I don't want the 500 to be inside. How? I put opposite side. So as you do that, what will happen? The account itself will balance off, so I no longer owe Kelly any amount of money. So this is what we are supposed to do. So I will have Kelly on the debit side, Kelvin on the credit side. So turns out what? Turns out actually Kelly here is also a form of liability semasa. That's why I mistakenly put in. So now to pull it back, I just need to change the position, give back to Kelvin its own place, then Kelly just sit on the next side lah, okay? Alright, now kesilapan amount. Kesilapan amount is going to be about numbers. Nombor. And I would like you guys to use a calculator method. Calculator method. So how to say calculator method, which means that you will use your calculator to help you identify what is the correct answer supposed to be. So the way to do it is to use the correct number minus the wrong number. Okay, how to say? You look at this sentence here. Pemilik membawa masuk perabot bernilai 980 tersilap catat sebagai 890. So the correct number is supposed to be 980, but I accidentally recorded it as 890. So don't pick up your calculator first. You think about it. Choose one butir out of the whole sentence. Pemilik membawa masuk and also perabot. These two. Pemilik membawa masuk is supposed to change to modal, which is an equity pemilik, while perabot is already a correct name, is and asset bukan semasa. Okay, so you found out these two butik. Choose one. I will go with perabot definitely because bring in perabot akan bertambah. So this 980 is supposed to be presented as positive inside my account perabot, but I accidentally wrote as 890 instead. So how should I correct it back? Use this calculator method. Correct number is 980 minus wrong number 890. How much do you find here? Now if you use a calculator, you find out your calculator should present you with the 90 ringgit without any symbol. So what does it mean when there is no symbol? Means it's a positive number. So when both this perabot is supposed to be positive 90, where should I put it? Asset positive is on the debit side, while for model equity permanent to be increased is on which side? Increase is on the credit side. So answer is gonna have perabot debit, model credit, both also using 90 ringgit. So conclusion is when it comes to kesilapan amount, we will not use the number, any of them inside of the sentence. We will only use them to find the difference, and the difference is what we record into our journal arm. So that is how it works. Okay. Now moving on, kesilapan saling mengimbangi. Saling mengimbangi stands for helping each other, accidentally helping each other to balance. So means what? Example, my debit side and my credit side. Let's talk about urus niaga that is non-related at all. Urus niaga number 1 is supposed to be bank and perabot. So my bank is supposed to increase, okay, increase by 300, while perabot is supposed to decrease, okay, decrease by 350. Now, do you guys see the problem now is, if I put this in, my bank is supposed to be on the credit side, debit side, here, bank, 300, while the credit, I will have how much? I will have a 350 of perabot. Isn't it imbalance already? Now, one side 300, one side 350. So, okay, let's continue. Urus niaga number 2. Urus niaga number 2 is that now I am buying things, jualan. So jualan is increase jualan 450, and my bank also increase. Okay, my bank also increased, but I accidentally wrote it as 500 ringgit. So what happens? Bank is a debit item, jualan is a credit item. So you see, as I bring in bank 500 on the debit side, jualan 450 on the credit side, what will happen is, as you add them together, don't you see that both sides also equals to 800 ringgit? So what does saling mengimbangi means? Is that two things, two urus niaga that are non-related at all, just nice, my debit and my credit side both also with an extra amount, or let's say terkurang catat the same amount. That's why they will accidentally help each other balanced already. So how should I do the correction? We will pick out the two that has a problem. Example here, the correct one is supposed to be 300. Correct one is supposed to be 450. So I don't use these two already. This urus niaga number 1, I will ignore the bank, I will ignore the jualan. But for the wrong ones is going to be perabot dengan bank. I will take these two out and help them do the catatan bergu. Both of them have an extra 50 ringgit. So how am I going to correct that? I just need to put perabot on the debit side, bank on the credit side will do. So both also 50 ringgit. Now if you don't understand, I show you guys an example. It's because perabot, let me erase this first. Perabot in urus niaga number 1 is supposed to be like this. From negative 350, I want to change it back to negative 300 because I sold actually 300 of it, okay? So to change it back, you see, I will press my calculator from the correct number to the wrong number. So you all follow what I write on the screen right now to use on your calculator. Correct number is 300. I want to achieve this. But what is the difference between the correct one and the wrong one? Minus wrong number. Now you see double negative. So negative 300 minus negative 350. Answer, what can you find on your calculator? You guys can look at my screen here. It's supposed to be 50. So with just 50, no symbol, meaning to say we are supposed to add on 50 ringgit. So when perabot bertambah, which side? Perabot bertambah is on the debit side. Like this, okay? And then what about for bank then? Bank is supposed to get lesser. So when I want to minus bank, it's supposed to be on the credit side. That's why the answer is perabot debit, bank credit. So I'm going to pick these two that are non-related. It's not even about them, but then just nice Urus Niaga 1 and Urus Niaga number 2 is having mistake on both of them lah, okay? Alright, so this is kesilapan saling mengimbangi. Sometimes the question can also come out this way. Discount diterima, discount diberi, terkurang catat 300. So what you do is, discount diterima is hasil, discount diberi is belanja. If both terkurang catat, then what are you supposed to do? Add them back. So hasil bertambah credit side, belanja bertambah debit side. So then both of them will have the number 300 to do catatan bergu on. Okay, now, so finally, kesilapan songsang. Songsang can also be known as terbalik. Means I accidentally put on the wrong position. So both putih are correct, but I just put the debit item to the credit side. Credit item put until debit side already. So how to solve that problem? Very easy mah. Just change back the position. No? So whatever that they say debit, you change back to credit. Whatever that they say credit, you help them change back to debit side. So here we have a kenderaan that I misspelled, okay? So debit, credit, done already. Positioning is finished, but I need the number, right? So I'm gonna have kenderaan to do the correction now to show you guys. This is account kenderaan. I accidentally put here on the credit side of 50,000. How should I do the correction? If you see now that I put it back to the debit side, also 50,000. What will happen to the account? The account will close off instead of doing the correction. I don't want it to just close off. I don't want to just clear this 50,000 away. I also want this 50,000 to be appear inside the debit side. So instead of just using back the original amount, for kesilapan songsang, you are supposed to times 2 for the amount. So what happens is when you times 2 it, this is what the number is going to be, 100,000. 100,000 minus 50, how much is still left inside your account kenderaan? You still have 50,000 left inside as HB. Bring back into your debit side to become baki BB. So this is my final destination where I want it to be on debit with the 50,000. Not just to clear off the wrong side, but also at the same time, I want it to appear on the correct position. So this is how kesilapan songsang is going to be. So that's it. Here we have total of 6 types of pembetulan kesilapan. So here I would advise you guys, okay, for the first question that you choose to do from your exercises, you can refer to my video to do step by step, okay, judging by which kesilapan, okay. After that, the second question onwards, make sure try not to see my video anymore. Try it on your own. See whether you can understand each and every concept or not. So very important thing is you must know the jenis kesilapan before you can answer your question. So make sure that you read through and make sure you finish watching this video so that you get the knowledge of what type of kesilapan, what type of method you should use for each and every one of them. Okay, so that's all for today. Make sure to like and subscribe my video, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye bye.